Stop speeding car, then a girl runs to him. When the police chief stopped the speeding car, he didn't know it would turn out like this. Besides the couple in the front seats, there was another passenger with them. In the car's back seat, there was a little girl who jumped out of the car crying, right into the officer's arms. What made her act this way? Was she in some sort of danger? The morning started early as usual. Police Chief David Snively was ready for another day of police work, hoping nothing would go wrong. He took his gear and his car and started patrolling the roads. He had no idea how bad that day would turn out to be. But having the job he was always prepared for anything. Or so he believed. Police Chief David Snively was well respected among his peers. He had many years of experience in the force, and he was always the one to cheer everyone up when they needed a lift up. Everyone vouched for him and believed he was a good cop. But would he manage to keep his composure later that day? Would he go by the book when a child was involved? Chief David Snively wasn't only a reputable police officer. He was also a pillar in his community. Everyone in the neighborhood loved him and knew they could count on him. Whenever someone needed help, he would be the first to volunteer. He also contributed to teen education and outreach programs. But no matter how vast his professional and life experience was, there were still things that would surprise him. That week had been particularly difficult for the police chief. He was involved in a tricky situation at a suspect's house, and things didn't go as planned. People got hurt, and no matter the many years of experience he had, the officer was still affected by the incident. Everyone knew that and tried to cheer him up, but he was still on edge that morning when he left for his shift. His colleagues hoped things would go smoothly for a while so the chief could recover. They couldn't be more wrong. The chief managed to get himself back on his feet and returned to work thanks to the support of his family and colleagues. Everyone knew how difficult the job of a police officer could be. The police chief was lucky to have such people in his life. But would he manage to keep his cool when disaster comes? Or would he break down with no hope of recovery? Late that afternoon, Police Chief Snively responded to assist an officer with the arrest of a motorist. The man was speeding and was distracted while driving. The car was pulled over. Immediately, the officers noticed the driver and a woman in the vehicle's front seats. But there was someone else in the back seat, a little girl, and that would completely change the entire situation. When officers with the Morrow, Georgia Police Department stopped the speeding car that day, they had no idea their interaction with the vehicle's occupants would end like this. The whole thing did not start well. The driver was being pulled over for speeding and distracted driving. Then he started arguing with the officer who had stopped him. He was furious at the cop. Onlooker Sam Juarez said that a woman and a little girl were also in the car. And the girl witnessed the whole thing as the man, the woman's boyfriend, made a scene and the cops were getting ready to arrest him. Sam was recording everything, making sure the police wouldn't do anything reckless. But something entirely different was about to unfold. In the back seat of the car that the officers pulled over, there was a scared little girl hugging her teddy bear. She was frightened and didn't know what was happening. The officer wanted to see if she was in any danger. Was she even related in any way to the other passengers? The police chief was worried about what to do next and how to calm down the situation as the man was still shouting and resisting arrest. But then something incredible happened. While his colleagues were arresting the angry man, Chief Snively was focused on something else. He realized that someone had to do something about the little girl in the back seat. Apparently, the woman was the little girl's mother. While she spoke with the officers, Chief Snively noticed the child crying. The police chief knelt next to the car and comforted her, answering her questions and explaining what was happening, all without knowing he was being recorded. The little girl jumped out of the car and was ready to confront the officer. She was still holding her teddy bear and headed up to Police Chief Snively. Late that afternoon, the chief was right where he needed to be. The little girl walked confidently up to him during a traffic stop, fighting back the tears as she asked him if her mom's boyfriend, who was being arrested, would ever come home. He was speechless. The little girl's gesture ripped the chief's heart out. He promised her that he was safe and that he would be home soon. She nodded, then wrapped her little arms around the man, laid her head on his shoulder, and sobbed. It was a beautiful moment, and that moment made the officer feel that his work mattered and the smallest thing could make a huge difference in someone's life. The officer was very saddened by the moment but managed to regain his composure and console the little girl. The police chief encouraged the little girl and told her that she was safe with him. It was a terrible, beautiful moment. And the man had no idea he was being recorded until the footage was sent to him several hours later. Police Chief Snively had no idea that his small gesture would have such a huge impact. After it was posted on social media, it became viral in a matter of days. Everyone congratulated him and said that the force needed more people like him. The country would be a safer and kinder place for everyone.